Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video by me, the Ranger George. It's been a little while, but I thought of a fun video idea today that is quite a strange part of the Witcher lore that I feel is not really discussed enough among fans, mainly because, well, the lore this character is about is in The Witcher 1, and I feel that most people either skip The Witcher 1 or maybe got a brief overview of the story because of, you know, the game's quite clunky now, and I can understand that a lot of people that have played The Witcher 3 or even started on The Witcher 2 might think like, oh, I'll wait till the remaster, which is coming out soon. Well, I suppose not even remaster, it's a full remake. But today, I wanted to talk about a character that I have talked about in the past when I made a lore video, but I want to talk about this character in more of a kinda, I suppose, technical sense, like how the developers actually use this character, what this character's supposed to be, and I just want to have a bit of a discussion about him. So the character I'm going to talk about a little bit is Alvin. And Alvin is this character that if you've seen my Witcher 1 playthrough, or you've played The Witcher 1, or you've looked into the lore a bit, you'll know he's a kind of annoying child. I suppose that's the best way to describe him.
I have a new home. It's nicer than Vizima was. It's just that I missed you.
I didn't miss you.
Hey, can we play Kill the Elf?
Boy,
Jesus Christ! He sort of follows Geralt around. He's quite annoying. He's kind of like the surrogate son of Geralt in The Witcher 1, and I'm just going to cut straight to it. He's basically meant to be Ciri, but I feel that CD Projekt Red didn't really know what they were doing when they first started making the Witcher games. I mean, obviously, they knew what game they wanted to make, they knew which locations they wanted to use, but I feel that they were like, okay, Ciri is such a big character, she went through this big journey, we want to have our Ciri with our Geralt. We're going to essentially try and kind of make Geralt go on the same journey again, but in The Witcher 1, in a sense, because he lost his memory, he goes in, he finds his new surrogate son, it's like destiny, they're together, and then the end of the game, and even The Witcher 3 for sure, basically confirms that, well, I think pretty much confirms, I mean, it's a theory, but it's a very, like, heavily supported theory, that Alvin ends up being Jacques de Aldersburg, who is, I suppose you could say, essentially the main villain of The Witcher 1. He's behind everything, he's managing everything. So it's quite interesting because it plays a lot with time travel and the whole, the Elder Blood. I mean, the whole thing with Alvin is, it's incredibly complicated. I suppose he's sort of slightly related to the Elder Blood through some sort of family line or something, but there are even more theories about Alvin that he could have, for example, come from the future originally. That was a popular fan theory. Then he ends up back in the past, and then Geralt meets him, and then he just kind of returns to the past even more. He keeps going back in the past, then he becomes Jacques de Aldersburg, then he gets defeated by Geralt at the end of The Witcher 1. It's very complicated, very strange, but it's interesting because what they've done is essentially they've kind of like they invented this character as a replacement for Ciri, and then he's become this important character in the first of the trilogy. So then he still has some kind of references a little bit in The Witcher 3, and even the Order of the Flaming Rose, which he was basically, well, he was in charge of. He was the, like, most famous member of it. It's, at least I feel, I mean, I suppose the Siegfried, but it's sort of they designed a problem, and then they had to get it to fit within the lore, which I think is so interesting, because I think just to everyone it's obvious he is meant to be Ciri. He has the powers, he's like Geralt's surrogate son, he has a different personality, I suppose, in the Witcher 1, but it's very clear this is meant to be Ciri, but they don't want to use Ciri. There could be many reasons for that. As I said, I think it's mainly because they didn't want to introduce such an important character. Then I think they wanted to do the whole thing with time travel, then him possibly being the villain and just having this cool little sort of loop thing. And yeah, I think that's primarily the reason, but they did the same thing even with Eskel. I mean, he had his promised child who was essentially like Renfri in a weird way. Not really, but, you know, Curse of the Black Sun. And then she also had white hair, I think, which... There's all this very sort of strange lore. I mean, I know that DLC is not... Well, it was made official by being released with The Witcher 1, so... It's quite a complicated... The Witcher 1 is one of those games that... The Witcher 2 was essentially a soft reboot, and The Witcher 3 was even more of a soft reboot. They do follow each other chronologically, and all of it is canon, but just certain things are kind of ignored, I suppose. And Alvin is a big part of that. Although he's not really ignored, it's just it's like certain aspects of him are ignored. For example, you know, you have Avalaki searching for Ciri because he needs the Elder Blood, and then it's like, well, there is that other guy, you know, that has very, very similar powers. He can go back in time, and it's just kind of forgotten because it's not actually within the books, really. I feel that this kind of lore is some of the most interesting Witcher lore to me because it's not something that necessarily completely correlates with the books, but it's something CD Projekt Red kind of made. I feel it wasn't necessarily a mistake, but it was something that became kind of a problem later on, and just through fan theories, and then later in The Witcher 3 when they actually created the like letter from A, and then they had it next to the book, My Manifesto, The Life of Jacques de Aldersburg. They have essentially confirmed that was who the character was. They kind of managed to sort of solve that issue. That, I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a strange part of the Witcher games lore, but it's not something that's necessarily goes against the themes of the games and everything else. I mean, I was thinking about this primarily because, you know, I mean, The Witcher Netflix just completely went away from the lore. It didn't really do what The Witcher was. It sort of contained a load of its own things within The Witcher that weren't supposed to be in the original message of the books. And I feel that this kind of lore, this sort of strange lore that people look at with CD Projekt Red, and they're like, oh, well, CD Projekt Red did this, CD Projekt Red did this. I'm like, well, it didn't really go against what the books were, and they did sort of make quite an effort to kind of fix that as it went on. Whereas I feel that there isn't a lot of that in other forms of media. Sometimes people just sort of say, no, this is what we're doing, we like this, shut up, that kind of thing. And yeah, I just felt like this was an interesting part of the lore. I mean, Alvin is very much forgotten after The Witcher 1. I mean, you know, Geralt and Shani, and even Geralt and Triss potentially in The Witcher 1 can have a lot to do with Alvin. Then in The Witcher 2 and 3, it's like this child that they were helping take care of just doesn't exist, you know, he's just gone. And I feel that part of the in-game reason for that could be that Geralt did actually realize, oh, that's Jacques de Aldersburg. You know, that's who it is. And there's a lot of stuff in The Witcher 1, well, between The Witcher 1 and The Witcher 2 and 3, that isn't really shown, especially between Triss and Geralt, because after The Witcher 1, you start The Witcher 2, Geralt has now sort of been with Triss a little bit longer, they've become Foltest's kind of bodyguards and advisor, and then between The Witcher 2 and 3, Geralt essentially just leaves Triss after Lockmine, and then he goes and does all his own stuff. So I feel that it's interesting how quickly this character was kind of dropped, but it's still nice to see that CD Projekt Red, the developers, care about fans. This is something that I really love, and why I love this kind of, I don't want to say I love the character, because it's a bit of a, Alvin as a character isn't much of a character, but when you look at it in the context of Alvin and Jacques de Aldersburg, it's this kind of interesting story. It's sort of, it's not just a character, it's kind of a part of The Witcher. It's that CD Projekt Red, yeah, they knew that the best thing to do, kind of ignore this character, but they didn't forget about the character. They included the letter in The Witcher 3, they had little references here and there, and I think it's really important for game developers to remember that fans aren't stupid. Fans do remember this stuff. Fans talk about this stuff years after the game's even finished. I think that it's something that most developers that make games, and even shows and everything, should strive for. What will people think about this thing I've made when it's finished? Okay, we made this kind of mistake, possibly, with Alvin. Let's just kind of ignore it, but you know what? For the fans that do care about it, let's put some little Easter eggs in, let's put some little stuff in, let's remember that we have people that bought our games, really enjoy the product that we've made, and we respect them. And that's why I really like this part of the lore in a strange way. It's not even necessarily to do with just the actual lore, which in itself is relatively interesting. It's more to do with the fact that it shows a lot of care and love by the developers. So yeah, I mean, what do you guys think? Do you guys like this part of the lore? Do you think it's just really weird? Do you think it's distracting? Do you think, oh, well, you know, it's meant to be Ciri, and Ciri should have been there, and this is just strange, and I don't like this? Or do you really like it? I'm really curious what you guys think. What sort of videos would you like to see? I'll try and make some more soon. Whenever I have an interesting idea, I'd like to just put a little video together, get some discussion about it. If I see comments that I think are interesting, I can do stuff about that, so just let me know. Thank you for watching, guys, I really appreciate it. Like today's video to let me know you support it, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, and yeah, just help support the channel. I really appreciate it, guys. I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching.